So today we are going to talk about the two important topic, that is innate immunity and adaptive immunity. So from this lecture we are starting the new topic in the immunology cellular components. So from the cellular components we are going to start innate immunity and adaptive immunity. So the innate immunity and adaptive immunity, I have tabulated them in the differential form so that it would be easy for you to understand. So here is the description of the innate and adaptive immunity. I am going to compare the innate and adaptive immunity on the topic like components, mechanism, resistance, response to pathogen, secreted protein, and key features in the pathogen recognition. So these are the six topics based on which I am going to compare the innate immunity and adaptive immunity. So first of all, you have to know that the innate immunity means the person is born with this immunity, and the adaptive immunity means the person acquires the immunity over the period of lifetime due to some environmental changes or bacterial invasion in their body or the viral infection. So the innate immunity is the immunity that the person is born within, and the adaptive immunity means the person acquires the immunity throughout the lifetime. So what are the various components of the innate immunity? So the various components are neutrophil, macrophages, monocytes, dendritic cells, natural killer cells. The natural killer cells of the lymphoid origins are involved in the innate immunity. The complement system, the various physical epithelial barriers, and various secreted enzymes. These enzymes, various secreted enzymes, participates in the innate immunity. Whereas the adaptive immunity includes the T cells, B cell, and circulating antibodies. So these are the components of the innate immunity and adaptive immunity. So the mechanism is mainly the germline encoded in the immunity. So the innate immunity is germline encoded. So this type of immunity pass from generation to generation, whereas the mechanism of the adaptive immunity is variation through the VDG recombination during the lymphocyte development. So during the variation in the lymphocyte development, the adaptive immunity develops in the person's body. So let us talk about the resistance. So the resistance in the innate immunity persists throughout the generation, and it doesn't change within the organism lifetime. Whereas the resistance in the adaptive immunity doesn't persist through generation, and it is not inheritable from one generation to another generation. So the adaptive immunity purely depends on the exposure to the environment. So for example, I'll talk about the resistant. So the various neutrophil, the macrophages, the monocytes, and the dendritic cell will be passed down through generation to generation. Whereas the adaptive immunity, for example, if I talk about the COVID infection, so the COVID infection we have, uh, if we acquired COVID infection, if we develop the immunity towards the COVID infection, then that immunity will not be transferred to our progeny. So our progeny should be exposed towards the COVID infection to develop the immunity. So that will be the adaptive immunity. So what will be the response to pathogen in the innate immunity? The response to pathogen is non-specific, it is rapid, and there is no memory in the innate immunity. Whereas in the adaptive immunity, the response is specific, refined, and there is memory. Uh, so, for example, we acquired in the adaptive immunity, I want to talk that we acquired the COVID infection now. So you have acquired the COVID infection today, and you have developed the adaptive immunity. So if you have if you again acquire that COVID infection like 2 or 3 years back, then obviously this adaptive immunity through the developed antibody will react through that. So it will be more specific and it will be more refined. So what are the various secreted proteins? The secreted protein in the innate immunity is lysozyme, the complement system, C-reactive proteins, the defensins and cytokines. Whereas the adaptive immunity involves the immunoglobulin. What is the key feature in pathogen recognition? It is the toll-like receptors. The toll-like receptor act in the innate immunity. So the pattern of recognition receptor that recognize pathogen associated molecular factors and lead to the activation of the uh, various mechanism. So that leads to the development of the innate immunity. But in the adaptive immunity there is the involvement of the memory cells. So it includes activated B and the T cells. So subsequent exposure to the previously encountered antigen will lead to the stronger, quicker immune response in the adaptive immunity. So this much for today. I have described the innate immunity and adaptive immunity in the comparison form. So I have described in the various description like component, mechanism, resistant, response to the pathogen, secreted proteins and key feature in the pathogen recognition. So I hope you understood this topic on the innate immunity and adaptive immunity. Thank you.